So we have seen programs with different operators, and we have learned certain different types of operations other than multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. We have discussed about comparison operators as well. Like I mentioned, there are more types of operator, and if we look into the slides, we will see OR, XOR, AND. So if you're familiar with the binary operations, you will be familiar with these operations. This is not very relevant for our current discussion. If you're interested, you can visit my previous training, but for the time being, I'm not going to focus much on these operations. All you need to know is that there are some other type of operations as well possible, which are definitely useful, available in almost all programming languages. Python is no exception. So these are the ones we have seen, and this one we have seen, it is the assignment operator. The sign we use is the equal to sign, but it is the assignment operator. All it is doing is opening up a bag and putting stuff into it. It does not mean that the bag is equal to what you are putting it into. So A equal to 10. So this statement does not mean that A is equal to 10. So this is read as A assigned to 10, or A is a bag which contains 10. Even instructors like me will read this sometimes as A equal to 10, but it does not mean that. It means A is assigned a value 10, or this particular bag or variable will contain value 10 after executing this statement. That's what it means. Very, very important. Very, very confusing as well. So that is something we need to remember. Now this is another confusing part. So this, again, what it does is it compares two values, B equal to A. What this does is it compares B and A, and it returns the final result of the operation is true if they're equal and false if they are not equal. So we have seen that if you have any doubts, play around the sample. All the code is available along with the training. So play with the sample, but this is very important. Again, this has no relation with this or the mathematics equal to. Both, all three things are totally different. This is again greater than comparison. We have discussed this. Less than comparison. So just like this, these things has similarity. So these three items has similarity. So they compare in different ways. Two numbers are being compared. So this is less than or equal to. This is greater than or equal to. So this will return true if it is equal to as well. So for example, this operator will return true if A equal to 10, B equal to 10, and A less than or equal to B. So this will return true, the Boolean true. You can check that in the program if you want, play with it, use both of these operators. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Why I am repeating this thing again and again is these are some of the confusing things in all programming languages. The reason why it is confusing is because there are certain normal use cases for these things in our daily life, in mathematics, in normal English language. So this means equal to. This is used for equaling something to other. But in here, it is used for a different purpose altogether. And it has no relation with the outside world usage. So that's why I'm repeating this whole thing. When I learned this, it was confusing for me, and it is confusing for you as well more than often. So in math, this is kind of an assertion. Assertion means it is a statement which gives us information. For example, in mathematics, if you say x equal to 10, this means that x equal to 10, the entire thing is equal to 10. It does not mean that x is a bag which contains 10. It doesn't work that way in maths. But in our case, we have explained it's an assignment, and equal to is a comparison. There's a huge difference and no similarity whatsoever other than the usage of this symbol itself. Very important. Next, we are going to discuss a very important concept called functions in programming. It's a very generic concept which is applicable to almost all the programming languages, and Python is no different. As usual, we're going to get into the code first and see line by line, and then we get into the slides. So we have a program here which has a function inside it. So the line number 1 is a comment statement, like we know. It starts with hash and it is a comment which says it's a simple function. It can be anything, like we discussed. It's a comment and it is green in color, as you can see. No confusion there. Next line is something called definition of a function. That is why it is starting with the keyword def, stands for definition. And then I have again a name, just like the name of a variable. It can be anything. And then inside the function, I have a print statement, normal print statement. Now, a couple of things to observe here is that after the definition and the name, I have this open and close bracket. And then there is a colon. So these are very important things to pay attention to. This colon is must have in Python. So this is a Python specific artifact. It's a language syntactical artifact. And this is where the arguments to the function come. So we'll see what are arguments to the function, but let's focus on the syntax right now. So there is a open bracket and a closed bracket, then a colon. And if you look carefully, there are a couple of spaces here after the line number 2. In front of line number 3, there are few spaces. In my case, it is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces are there in my case. So this space has meaning in Python. So Python is one of the few programming languages which has meaning for this space right here. So this means that everything after 4 spaces is part of the definition of this function. So function is nothing but a piece of code. We'll see the use of it shortly, but right now again, let's focus on the syntax. So there are 4 spaces and there is a print statement right here. Now I have nothing in line number 4. Line number 4 is empty. That's fine. I can remove it if I want as well. I'm just keeping it just to make sure it's more readable, etc. But otherwise, 4 is an optional blank line, no meaning to it. Now line number 5 is where I'm using the function. So here we have defined the function. Here we are using the function. And then we have a print statement right here, just like our good old print statement. Now let's try to understand the execution of this whole thing. So what happens when we execute this program? So in our case, this is the first line, this is the second line, and this is the third line. And we are expecting this print to be happen first than this print. But that's not the case here, because this is inside a function and we are not using that function until line number 5. So this is the definition of the function. So function is a piece of code which is defined here. You can think of it's like a small program within a program. So this is a program. The whole thing is a program, and function is like a small program within a program, and we can reuse it here. We are using or reusing it here. So we will see the reuse part as well. So line number 5 is the first line which will be executing, and then it'll execute this particular statement because the function call is happening here. To prove that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this additional print statement here. I'm doing Control C, Control V. So this I'm going to put before function. I made a small change to the program. I'm giving a blank line right here, and let's try to execute the program. So again, as usual, I don't have any breakpoint and I'm going to execute. So as I was explaining before, this is the first print we are getting, not this. So we came here and then gone here and then printed this. So this is a little counterintuitive, but you will get used to it. And once you understand the real use of functions, you will appreciate it as well. For the time being, it is having a non-linear nature. Why it is non-linear? Because these lines are coming first, but it is not getting executed until here. That is the non-linearity about it. In the beginning, I told you everything is executed from top to bottom. But in this program, that's not what is happening, at least from the look of it. Although that is exactly what is happening. From the look of it, that's not what is happening. If that was what happening, this should have printed first, then this should have happened. But this is just a definition of the function, not execution. So we have seen functions. So let's try to play around a little bit more on some of the aspects of the function. Functions can be a little complicated in the beginning because of the non-linear nature I was mentioning, but we will get to it.